Narcissistic Mothers and Daughters, Why She Hated Your Light. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is the Narcissistic Abuse Dynamics series inside Free Me. In today's episode, we're addressing a form of abuse that often remains unnamed, unspoken, and tragically misunderstood: the covert competition, resentment, and sabotage that occurs between a narcissistic mother and her daughter. For many women, the first betrayal didn't come from a friend or a partner. It came from their mother. The one person who was supposed to protect them, nurture them, and celebrate them became the one person who emotionally punished their growth, beauty, or brilliance. This episode is not about blaming mothers in general. It's about exposing a specific, cyclical pattern of abuse that leaves daughters fragmented, insecure, and deeply conflicted about what it means to be seen, loved, and free. Narcissistic mothers are not simply harsh. They are emotionally competitive. And if you grew up under that dynamic, you likely lived in a household where love was conditional, praise was rare, comparison was constant, and being yourself was dangerous. You may not have had the words for it as a child, but your body felt it. The tension in her eyes when you were happy, the withdrawal of affection when you succeeded, the tightening of the room when attention shifted from her to you. Your nervous system learned the pattern early. Visibility equals punishment. Radiance equals rivalry. And somewhere deep inside, you formed a contract. If I dim myself, maybe I'll be safe. That contract became your survival strategy, but it also became the root of your self-erasure. Today, we're going to tear up that contract, because your light was never the problem, her darkness was. Let's begin with the core truth behind this dynamic. A narcissistic mother does not see her daughter as a separate being with her own destiny. She sees her as a possession, a reflection, a tool, or in the worst cases, a threat. A narcissistic mother will often oscillate between two extremes: excessive enmeshment and targeted rejection. One moment she demands closeness, calling it love. The next moment she punishes independence, labeling it disrespect. This is not maternal bonding. This is emotional bondage. Narcissistic mothers do not nurture, they extract. And they don't compete with all their children equally. They target the daughter who carries the most light, the one with beauty, creativity, empathy, insight, and intuitive strength. The one who triggers everything inside the mother that was never healed, fulfilled, or expressed. This isn't always loud or violent. In fact, the danger lies in how invisible it is. Many of these daughters grow up thinking they had a strict mother, or a complicated one. Or worse, they blame themselves. They internalize the subtle messages. Don't outshine me. Don't be too much. Don't make me feel small. And those messages create a daughter who becomes a master of self-minimization, smart enough to succeed, but terrified to be seen. To understand this further, we need to examine the psychological and spiritual underpinnings of narcissistic motherhood. At the psychological level, narcissistic mothers often experience their daughters as extensions of themselves, rather than free beings. They expect loyalty, obedience, and emotional labor in exchange for conditional approval. The daughter becomes a mirror, not a person. If she mirrors back the mother's image, she is tolerated. If she surpasses her, she is punished. The narcissistic mother may also have a deep unconscious jealousy of the daughter's youth, beauty, emotional intelligence, or social magnetism. But rather than celebrate these traits, she undermines them, often through subtle mockery, public humiliation, or strategic withdrawal of love. Now let's go deeper spiritually. A narcissistic mother sees her daughter's light and feels threatened by its purity. This daughter represents everything the mother abandoned in herself: the truth teller, the intuitive, the authentic self. Rather than seeing her daughter's gifts as a blessing to the lineage, the narcissistic mother sees her as a mirror of her own failure. She feels exposed. So instead of healing, she competes. She criticizes. She shames. She drains. She discredits. She recruits siblings or relatives to gang up emotionally and keep the daughter in her place. If you were this daughter, you likely experienced the following. You were praised only when you were performing, getting good grades, doing what you were told, or making her look good in public. You were never allowed to outshine her. If you wore something beautiful, she made a comment about your body. If you had a creative idea, she ignored it or took credit for it. If you cried, she said you were being dramatic. If you set boundaries, she called you selfish. If you tried to leave, she guilted you with stories of everything she sacrificed. This isn't maternal discipline. This is control. And the goal of that control is not protection, it's containment. Let's explore the specific tactics that narcissistic mothers often use to dominate their daughters. First, emotional triangulation. She pits you against your siblings, your father, or even extended family members. She plays favorites, changes narratives, and tells each person a different version of the same story. This ensures that no one ever compares notes and that the truth stays hidden. It creates confusion and loyalty splits. You're too busy defending yourself to realize the real manipulator is the one orchestrating the dysfunction. Second, shaming disguised as discipline. She makes you feel bad for basic needs. Asking for space, asking to be believed, expressing sadness, or seeking praise becomes a problem. She tells you, you're too sensitive, you always make things about you, or you're the reason we have conflict. Over time, you start to believe it. You shrink yourself. You hide. You become an emotional contortionist doing whatever it takes to avoid being labeled the bad one. Third, maternal jealousy. This is the hardest one to name, but the most important to see. When you were celebrated by others, did she seem annoyed instead of proud? When you achieved something, did she compete or downplay it? When others saw your beauty or intelligence, did she make cutting comments later at home? That wasn't discipline. That was envy. A narcissistic mother doesn't want you to shine. She wants to control the narrative of who you are. And if others see something in you that she refused to nurture, it destabilizes her illusion of power. Fourth, covert sabotage. You may have noticed that every time something good was about to happen, an opportunity, a relationship, a breakthrough, something went wrong, a passive-aggressive comment, an argument she started, an emergency she created that required your attention. That was not random. It was a ritual, a way to make sure you never got far enough away from her to realize who you are without her control. Finally, reputation destruction. If you ever tried to speak the truth, set boundaries, or go no contact, she flipped the narrative. You were suddenly unstable, ungrateful, mentally ill, rebellious, or cruel. She told family members that you were struggling, or breaking her heart, or turning your back on the people who love you. She weaponized your healing process to preserve her image. That's not grief. That's image management. These tactics don't just injure, they program. They rewire a daughter to doubt her instincts, mistrust her emotions, and believe that love must be earned through silence and sacrifice. And even after she leaves, the imprint remains. You may now struggle with self-worth, trust, visibility, or intimacy. You may attract partners who mimic her behavior. You may still feel guilt for thriving. That's the maternal trauma. That's the spell. And it's time to break it. Healing from a narcissistic mother wound is not about fixing her. It's about freeing yourself. The mother you needed may never arrive, but the woman you were born to become, she's waiting. Start by grieving the fantasy. The idea that one day she'll wake up and love you differently, that she'll apologize, that she'll see you. She might not, but that doesn't stop you from seeing yourself. Grieve the version of her that never existed. Then grieve the parts of you that went into hiding just to survive her. Next, begin reparenting. Speak to your inner child the way she never did. Validate your feelings. Praise your courage. Protect your peace. Say out loud what should have been said to you. I see you. You are allowed to be big. You are allowed to be joyful. You are allowed to be whole. Then, reclaim your mirror. Not the one she used to reflect her pain onto you, but the true one. Stand in front of it. Look yourself in the eye. And affirm. I do not owe my life to the woman who tried to keep me small. I belong to myself now. Lastly, redefine motherhood. You are not destined to become her. You are not obligated to continue her story. You are free to build a new lineage, one based on emotional safety, truth, warmth, celebration, and spiritual alignment. Whether you have children or not, you carry the power of maternal alchemy. You get to mother your inner world, your relationships, your creations, your purpose. You get to be the nurturer, protector, and liberator of your own life. The mother wound is one of the deepest wounds a woman can carry, but it is also the one that, when healed, restores the most power. Because once you remove the false matriarch, the one who kept you in emotional captivity, you make room for the divine mother to rise within you. Not the one who competes, the one who creates, not the one who shames, the one who shelters, not the one who silences, the one who sees. You are not who she said you were. You are not too much. You are not dramatic. You are not selfish. You are not unstable. You are the one who saw the truth and kept going. You are the one who glowed despite the shadows. You are the one who said no to the legacy of lies. You are the one who is going to raise yourself into freedom. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and what you just watched is part of my signature program, the Chosen One series inside School of Soul. This series is not just a course, it's a blueprint for those who know they were different from the start. The black sheep, the scapegoat, the truth teller, the cycle breaker. Inside, you'll discover the family roles playbook, the golden child, the scapegoat, the enabler, the lost child, and how to finally step out of the part you were cast in without consent. How the black sheep becomes the goat, turning rejection into radical transformation and leadership. How to break generational curses and rewrite ancestral contracts so the pain stops with you. And how to recognize and escape modern forms of spiritual and technological targeting, from gang stalking to synthetic synchronicity. This isn't just about survival. It's about awakening, about reclaiming your voice, your lineage, and your destiny as one of the chosen ones. Click the link below to access the full series now, because the role ends the moment you decide it does, and the real script begins with you.